Welcome to the Sk8LikeYou podcast.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Mark Magoo from Sk8LikeYou, Sk8LikeYou podcast. I am here with Angela Dill Pitts, ADP in the house from your own rink. Where are you at right now? Tell everybody where you're at.
I'm at Roller Time Skate Center in Easley, South Carolina.
Wow. Okay. All right. Now, how long have you had that place, like as it is right now?
I have had this place about 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yes.
Now, did you own a rink prior to that? Manage a rink at all?
I did. I had Roller Time Skate Center in Piedmont, South Carolina. I just recently shut that one down. I had that one for 8 years. We didn't own the building, and investor came in and offered the guy that owned it, a lot of money, and it got sold. And by the time it come back, it was just way out of our budget. So,
yeah.
But it was smaller. It was our first rink, and it's just kind of got our feet wet. And I would love to have more, and so it's kind of cool because the stuff that was in Piedmont now lies in Easley, and it just makes it even better, and just kind of makes our vibe even more. So it's worked out really good.
How far apart were those rinks?
20 minutes. I was my closest competitor, but I ran both of them, and they were good. So God's got a plan for the future.
Now, because you said you mentioned you were your biggest competitor. So did the rinks offer kind of a different vibe or cater to a different crowd, each of them, or was it just whatever
in a
it was?
Sense, yeah, in a sense. I mean, I did a lot of my lessons out of my Piedmont rink because where it was, it's like right off the highway. And I had been there for so long, and I've been teaching for like 20 years, so everybody kind of knew that I was there, and I would host like my classes and stuff there. And a lot of people, like in the different schools and stuff that I teach in, they would come and have their parties at that location. So that one was more known that I owned it than Easley. So the Easley community, when I came in, it took me a while to people to know who I am. I'm just like, it's different because if they're used to a certain person and then you come in, they got to get to know you.
Yeah. So now we have literally had a conversation on the phone to book this, like twice, something like that.
Right.
Who was it that connected? Did someone connect us?
Chrissy.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. That's right. Right. This was a couple months ago that we actually planned this. So you actually have the distinction of being my most far out booked guest ever. So, I mean, if that's not,
I know.
So, look, what I do know is I kind of have like this broad spectrum or whatever of what I know about you and your life in skating, which is basically that you've done it all for a super long time, or for the majority of your life, it sounds.
Yeah.
And from competing to training to owning to just basically almost every aspect of it. I would like to try and get into all of it if we have time. But the where I start with every single person, I always ask them the same question: is, do you remember the first time you ever put on skates?
I do. My mom had a roller skating party for me, and she had got me this cowgirl outfit.
Okay.
And I want to say this is like one of the first times. And she had a birthday party for me at a roller skating rink. She said that I had never skated before. She put the skates on me, and I just took off, and I was flying around the rink. It scared her half to death. She's like, what in the world's going on? This child's never had skates on in her life, and I just loved it. I took to it.
And you were how old? I don't know if you mentioned that.
I know that's crazy. I think I was like 4 or 5.
4 or 5.
So
okay. Now, do you remember this? Do you actually remember?
I do remember the outfit. Okay. I vaguely remember it, just kind of like at Christmas. I remember where I had gotten a pair of skates at Christmas one time too, and skating around my house in it. So, and I was very young.
Okay. Okay. So what would you say then is like the time where, because I'm, you remember, but it's probably kind of, not completely vivid. Uh, but like, when would you say the age is that like you kind of figured out or decided or just you just knew that like, oh, I like to do this a lot. Like this is my thing. When would you say that was?
Um,
It's a tough question, but
I would probably say I was somewhere around maybe 6 or 7 because my
okay,
brother wanted to go to the roller skating rink. He was older than me.
right,
And of course, I'm like, oh, I want to go. My brother's going.
yeah,
So I go to the skating rink and I just fall in love with it because you got to think like back then, that's in like the prime time era. I mean, people out there bouncing, they're jumping, they're spinning, and I was in awe. I
mm,
I tell you, like I was at the skating rink every time the doors were open, and I was always on the skate floor. Like I fell in love with it, and I still love it to this day. I mean,
yeah.
it's my passion.
It's funny because when I look back at being a kid, you know it's skating's like the only it's like one of the only things where I think the vast majority of people can look back at their life and like and even though most people only did it a few times, like they remember it distinctly. Like everybody has that experience, but then like there's this few of us that like because I went to school with I don't know how many kids, and there was only like there wasn't many that everyone had at least gone skating one time,
Right.
right? But like there were only a few of us that kind of got that had that reaction that you did, right? That it's like, oh, I'm coming back here. Like something like I don't know what it was, and I had an older brother and an older sister that both skated, right? And my whole thing was just seeing. I just looked at it and said, I want to do that. Like
Yeah.
I want to do that.
Right.
Um. So now that and you said you had this rink that you basically every time it was open you were there.
Right.
So what was your home rink growing up? Like your first home?
Roller Sports and Taylors. So they are probably about 30 minutes from me here.
Okay.
Um, I have a lot of skating rinks in my
Okay.
area, and I'm friends with all the owners, which is crazy. But I grew up at all these rinks, and we all know each other and support each other, which is so awesome. When I had my 3-year anniversary here, like my two main competitors, the owners, like they're my friends. They showed up to help me celebrate. Hey, which I love it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So now you're okay. You have this. You followed your older brother to the rink where you kind of found out. Now, did he skate regularly? Did he stick with it, or are you
Um,
kind of like the lone skater?
No, he was oh boy, he enjoyed it, but he never really got into it like I did.
Okay.
And my mom would go up there and sit, like she would not leave me at the skating rink, and so she became Mama Dill, and
Okay.
everybody knew her. And I started competing when my first competition when I was 8 years old,
Okay.
and I was hooked.
So competing, you're talking like artistic skating,
No, I
speed
started out, I
skating.
had speed skates. I did shuffle skating. Back then we called kind of artistic freestyle. We had pairs. I mean, it's like what I think skating's trying to get back to.
Yeah.
So, I, I, I mean, I'm very familiar with it. I did it for a very, very long time. So we would travel to Alabama, we would go to Tennessee, we would go to Georgia. I mean, back then, the skating rinks would have competitions all over, and they would pack out, which was very inspiring to me because I'm like, oh my goodness, nobody, like guys could do certain things, and girls were like, and I'm like, not me. I'm going to learn that six spin. I'm going to learn that toe touch, and so I worked my tail off until I got those.
Okay. So, how like now you said you did do speed skating, or you?
I did. I'd never done speed skating. I did like shuffle skating.
Okay, okay, okay.
We called it rock and roll back then. Now, some of it's called jam skating, some of it's called shuffle skating. But it's shuffle skating, but with a twist of like footwork. So you see how like some of the groups are coming out like with the footwork, like that. But we would mix in, the footwork with like jumps and different stuff like that, which they're doing that as well.
So were you like on a team, or were you an individual competitor? What was the situation?
I did everything.
Okay.
Anything that I could compete in other than speed skating, I didn't want to race.
Okay.
I was in. So I did my regular solo, like just routine skating. I had a girls pairs partner. I had a boys pairs partner a long time ago. So there was teams, so you would practice every week, and then each skating rink kind of had like their own team, and we just all competed against each other, or we would go and do a showcase like on a Friday night,
Right.
and a bunch of us skaters would come in and they'd be like, we want to show you what this is about, and then the skaters would get on the floor, and then afterwards we would stay and talk to the kids at the skating rink and just try to really get them involved, because the skating rink is an outlet for a lot of people, especially teens, because it's already hard trying to be a teen as it is. So, it gives you something. It's undescribable, because it is a stress reliever as well. And kids get stressed. And if I didn't have skating to like when things were on my mind and I could just get on the floor and just go, I mean, it would have been a different world for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know that myself personally, like especially as a kid, like I was the kind of kid that if I wasn't doing something, I could easily kind of get caught up in here, and this
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
the carnival just kicks into high gear, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's probably even worse for that type of kid nowadays, because everything is so sedentary, right? Like sit on your phone, sit in front of a computer, like so. I love seeing like 14, 15, 16-year olds, 12, whatever, like at a rink. I love seeing them love it the way I did. The interesting thing about what you're talking about, though, with the team thing, so like where I grew up, the rink that I basically grew up in was in Southern Maine, and we had a drill team, right? That was comprised of like just the local regular skaters, like the young kids. We'd go to like the armory, or like we'd do parades. It was like the showcase
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't compete though. So like now when you're competing, like it sounds like okay, you're on this team, but you're not developing like a routine with a coach, or are you?
Yes.
Or
Okay. So when I grew up, I had a couple of coaches.
okay,
When I first started, I had Randy Medley and a lady named Kim, and they coached me for a long time. And then I had a couple of different coaches. When I switched to my artistic, I had the Princes that coached me, and I went to Lexington, South Carolina, to their rink. And so there was coaches, because I mean you can practice, but you need somebody to critique you. So if you're doing something incorrectly, like somebody needs to say no, and from like their experience, because coaches don't just go, "Ooh, I'm a coach." Like these guys are actually like really studying the art of skating.
right,
I mean, like breaking it down. And I mean, like they have to do tests, and these tests are hard. Like, in
yeah,
order for you to get certified, it's not like you just go sign a piece of paper and be like, I'm a
right, right,
they're asking you some very hard questions, and I've been teaching for like 20 years, and some of it I'm like, whoa, okay, what now? But yeah, I mean, the coaches were out there, and they would kind of assist you, and you would feed off the other kids and stuff. So, if you're out here skating, so let's just say that all of us are out here skating, and I'm doing a cool move, you might be like, hey, will you show me your move? And then we do it together. And then it just kind of built like that. So
yeah,
somebody would come up with a footwork pattern on the floor, and then, they'll be like, let's call it. double dutch or something like that.
Right,
And
right,
then
right.
everybody would be like, oh, I want to learn the double dutch. And then everybody knows it. And then you could switch off and skate with a bunch of people or by yourself or, just with a partner. It was really cool.
Yeah. I wonder about that too, right? Like, because I think to myself, like, especially with a coach, and when you talk about a coach that is highly knowledgeable and has a really in-depth understanding of skating and skating mechanics and all that kind of stuff, is what is there and you kind of answered it, but is there how much freedom of your own individual expression? Like, is that a tough thing in that world, like for you, right? To say like, okay, like, because it like sometimes it makes me wonder, like, is it when I'm being coached, right, or when you're being coached, is it like, well, hey, you're doing that wrong, versus you in your mind being like, no, I'm trying to do what I want to do, or I'm trying to do something different. You know what I mean? Like, how much of that experience do you understand what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
like how does that get balanced? I guess what is the and that might be I might not be asking it the right way.
Well, you have to have that connection with your coach first, because if you don't have a connection with your coach, it will not work.
Mm.
It's kind of like a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like when you're doing something, let's just say that I'm working on a spin.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if I know what the spin looks like in my head and I'm doing it and I'm falling and I keep falling down, I know something's wrong. And my coach comes up and says, hey, you're not doing blah, blah, blah. And
Right.
so then I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go do it. And then I go try to do it. And then if I succeed at it, that's great. If not, I'm like, oh, okay. I know what it's supposed to be like, and I felt this, but I know that I've got to push like harder on this side or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of give me the insight. It's more like they're feeding me. It's not
Yeah.
it's not like, oh, you're doing it wrong. What are you doing? And then I'm like, no,
Right. Right.
no,
Right.
me, I can't, not like that.
But are they developing the routine with you too? Is it literally just the
Yeah,
mechanics?
because with coaches, like they help you come up, because it's kind of like I'm a very visual person. So like I coach too. It wasn't my plan to coach. I skated all the way up and competed for a long time. And once I started getting older, I started having parents come up to me of like younger kids, and they're like, "Hey, will you coach my child?" And I'm like, I don't know, like I love skating, but I don't know if I could do that. And so
Right. Right.
I started coaching. I fell in love with it. I actually coached all the way up until my last year that I skated at nationals. And I took a kid that skated at nationals. So I was coaching and I was skating. That was pretty
Mm.
challenging. And he did very well.
Mm.
And at that time I was like, you know what? I have just succeeded more than what I'd ever like set out to do, like in the skating world. And I was like, I love skating, but I want to help other people get to that. So I'm really good at like breaking stuff down. So if somebody comes and they're like, I can't skate or I can't stand up on skates, like I'm going to explain to you how your body's supposed to be, how you're supposed to put the weight on your skates, what to do if you feel like you're going to fall. So I think it's just a calling, and people
Mm.
know that and they can feed off of it.
Mm.
And I think that's how the skating with the coaches and the students work. Like I've taught thousands of people how to skate.
Yeah.
And because I've been doing it for so long, I do it
Right.
all the time.
Yeah, and there's teaching or training, right? And then there's coaching, right?
Yes.
Like
Right.
so like and when it comes to the coaching aspect of this, how much do you kind of do you find yourself like do you because you coach multiple people, right?
Right.
And you definitely don't want to have like a bunch of people just all looking the same, right? Like, so are you looking at people at their own individual kind of style that they
Absolutely.
have naturally and
Yes.
trying to matriculate that
Yes.
and expand on that? Like,
Yes.
yeah, explain like your approach to that.
I mean, because well, you got to think. I mean, let's just say that we have a girl that's really good at spinning, but she has a hard time like jumping. So you're really going to compliment her spinning, and then
Mhm.
work on the jumps. Or let's just say that somebody's got really good footwork. We're really going to focus on that, but we have to make sure that as we're focusing on like what they're good at, we are still challenging them. So the stuff
Yeah.
they're not good at, they still need to be challenged at, and then they kind of develop their own vibe, and then you go with it. So you know that such and such is going to be really good at this song, and they're going to be doing this, 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 and this, and it's what they're capable of doing, not what you kind of instill into them.
Right. Yeah.
Because, like, I can tell you all day how to do whatever, but you're the one that has to do it. So that's how it kind of sets all the skaters different. And the coach just has to learn how to, I guess, work that, work with them, kind of help them get their own thing. I mean, in the artistic world, which is still competing on a very large basis right now, I mean, the shuffle skating, like what I grew up on, was like that back in the day. Like when you go to a skating rink, you had judges sitting on the side. They had to know their stuff. They're scoring you like by what you're wearing, how hard the footwork is, how many jumps you did, how many spins you did. Like there's rules to that. It's not like
Yeah.
you just get out there and you're just bouncing around. Like
Yeah.
you have certain things that you need to do, and now what you decide to do for those certain things really make a difference. And it's kind of like that in the artistic world right now. It's just that shuffle in has fell off. I would love to get that back, and that's what I was talking to Ben about. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I was telling him because he was like, man, like we got to go all the way to Florida. And I was like, I would bring it to South Carolina because I know it. I grew up with it. Like, I love it. Like, if I could get other skating rink owners, which I think that I can, I think that, some of them just don't know. They just haven't really ventured into that. But I will say that all the skate rink owners that like I've met, they're really on board about like helping each other and building and about this skating community because they're in it because they
Mhm.
love it. Like, some of them might have skated when they were younger and they don't skate anymore, or like you said, went to the skating rink all the time and fell in love with it, and like their skating rink shut down and they got the opportunity to purchase it, and
Yeah.
they want that for the community. And that's
Yeah.
how a lot of the rinks are, like they're here to help the community, and they just really love the skating industry. So hopefully we can get that pump back up. I would love that.
Yeah. Two things that you said there. One being like, as far as, because you even mentioned at the beginning that like, you have other rinks nearby and they celebrated your anniversary or something. I'm not sure. I think that's what we said, but
Yes.
like that's my, like, I am, I try and surround myself with people in this world that kind of all have that same mindset. Now, I'm not a rink owner, right? But like my the way I kind of approach this is like you grow, we grow. You know what
Right.
I mean? You grow, I grow, we
Right.
grow. Like it's not about, like, especially in the content world, like it's like I try and I'm trying to get people to understand, because see what happens is like with Sk8LikeYou website and everything and the podcast, people like hit me up and they're like, well, you're promoting like this event, but you're also promoting that event, and like they're kind of close together and da da da.
Yeah.
Da. And I'm like, look, I'm not. That's not what this is about.
Right.
Okay, I'm making this available to everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all this is. I'm not trying to compete with anybody. And what I wish I think that sometimes what we don't get is that the goal should be the absolute collective. I mean, and before social media too. I mean, you've been around skating enough. Like skating is very cyclical in its time of like being super popular, and then it
Right.
kind of fades
Yes.
away and kind of comes
Yes.
back. And like obviously with social media, that's kind of helped keep those up times around a little bit more. But I just think that like we could, I think, as a community as a whole, right? to have that mindset of like, look, like everyone, like you doing well and me doing well is just good for everything. Like you
Right.
do well, like it's just it and can keep these high times, higher longer or whatever. But and the other thing that you mentioned too about this shuffle kind of thing kind of coming back or like from a competitive, I mean, it's crazy. I definitely see it. I know somewhere like in like the 90s, like because I remember
It was
jam
hot in
skating.
the 90s. Yeah, I
Yeah,
competed in the
but
90s.
but like then like jam skating and it's funny because jam skating used to mean a different thing where I was from,
Yeah,
and then all of a sudden jam skating basically kind of mostly known now as like basically it's b-boys in the middle of the floor. It's breakdancing
right,
on skates,
right. I agree.
you know? And that thing went crazy.
It did.
And
I
shuffling
helped them.
really,
Yeah.
so I'm so stoked to see these competitions, to see
Yes.
skate companies getting behind it, and pushing it. Like I tell you what, I don't know what the shuffle crowd is like in like where you're at, man, in like the central PA, Lehigh Valley. There are these kids that are crazy. They're crazy with it, and it's so exciting because
It
I
is.
never got into the jam thing. I was a footwork guy. I was a freestyle guy. I was a
Yeah.
shuffle guy. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to go stand in the, and I'm not knocking it. It's just,
No, I know what you're saying. Me
you know what I
too.
mean?
Like, I'm not going to get up on, like I didn't do that part. But if you
Yeah.
can do it, like more power to you because some of that stuff's hard. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
how in the world? I would break my neck.
No, absolutely. And the thing is my brother was a b-boy, and then he got me into that, and like so we were into that, but like, but we just saw skating like when we saw the when I saw like what jam skating is known as now when that became a thing, it just was like, no, I'm cool. Like I don't need to do that on skates either, like or as well. So I want to keep doing what I'm doing. But that just became a thing. Like
Right.
that was it. Like especially
Yes.
among young people. So
Yes.
I'm so stoked to see this kind of uptake. And I don't want to take anything away from jam at
No,
all.
I don't
I
think
just
so.
want both to thrive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and you can be cross trained because a lot of the jam
Mhm.
skaters, they not
Absolutely.
only know how to do the jam skating, they
Right.
can also shuffle around the floor, which gives them an advantage if we ever get this competition thing going back up. I cross trained all of my kids.
Mm.
And I mean, it really helps because it doesn't just have them focused on a certain style,
Mm.
which is really good. I mean, it challenges you. It makes it more
Absolutely.
fun. I mean, why not?
I was just having this conversation with somebody like the other day is that I know for myself, being as ADD as I am, and kind of like I, there's no way I would love this as much as I do if I didn't have the ability or willingness to kind of want to evolve and change
Right.
constantly.
Yeah.
Like I always feel like okay, like oh, I'm figuring something new out, and I kind of figure it out, and I have some fun with it for a little while, and then it's like on to the next thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't I would go crazy just doing the same stuff all the time. It would
Yeah.
no way. So was there? Did you ever have a break in your skating, or you just skated since day one and never put them away? Or
When I got in high school, I did take a little break
okay,
because, when you're in high school, it's just not really cool anymore. And so I did
yep,
take a little break, but not too long. Like it always pulls me back in because it's my thing. Like
mm.
I love it. So it will never happen again in my whole entire life. I love it too much. Like there's no breaking for me.
So were you compete? Did you compete after that break? After you kind of came back
I
around?
got into artistic after that break. So
Okay.
when so I skated competitively until I was probably about 14, and I was like, I had skated so much, like just all over. And and then I would still like go to the rink and kind of skate, knock around and stuff. But then I did take a couple of years off. And then when I got back into it, I wanted to challenge. I wanted more of a challenge. So I got into artistic because I didn't know. I mean, like I could do freestyle, which is kind of like artistic, but we were using our toe stops, and just different stuff. I mean, artistic, like when you do spins, you spin on your edges. So I mean, you can do stuff with your toe stop, but it's different,
Mm-hmm.
and you're learning different jumps and stuff too. But some of the stuff that we were doing was the same. So I really kind of got hard into that because I felt like that not that I've mastered, but I knew and I was more familiar with like the shuffling, footwork and stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got into artistic, I was able to incorporate some of the stuff that I already knew. So it just challenged me more, which was really cool.
Do you have a preference to like if you could only, let's say, that time in your life, like they say, okay, you have to pick one of these things to compete in and do.
It,
Do you
it
have
would
one?
be it would be shuffling, just because like I love it. Like why
Yeah,
not get down to the music? Like let's get down.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I get
I
it. I
mean,
get it.
feel the music. Like just get into it. I remember like I used to just skate and just skate and skate and skate, and like there would be people around me, and I was so in my zone. Like I just didn't even see them. Like when I would get out on the floor and compete. I'm a very shy person. I might not come across like that, but like it's like a flip of a switch, and I just like, it's like nobody's there, and it's just me, and I'm
Yeah.
just doing my thing.
If you're, it's funny. People, I totally relate to that. I get it 100%. I always tell people, as corny as it sounds, I I really, and it's cheesy, but like I truly believe that like me at the rink is like the most honest version of myself. You know what I mean? Like it's where I just know how to be me
Yeah,
without like any without any insecurity. Like I
right.
and I don't know what that says about me in regular life, right? But it's just the truth for me. And I find that people that can relate to that, like there's one thing that I still do to the well, I stopped skating for a long time. I stopped like when I got to about college age, and I just did adulting for the next 18 years or whatever, 20 years before I got into it again. But it's amazing, like the things that just beyond just muscle memory, but like that came back to me, like even just the way I would think, right? Like, because one thing that I always did, like when I skated previously, and this thing that almost immediately happened when I started again, was like in this aspect of like kind of getting in your own world and being in your own head. Like I'll like just be driving around, right? Or something, or I'll be in the house and I'll put on Spotify and I'll hear a song and I'll know immediately, oh my God, I will skate to that like this.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
yeah,
This at the breakdown right here, I'm gonna do this. Like, and I'll get excited, right?
yes.
Because either it's something I never thought to skate to, or it's something I hadn't skated to in a long time. Do you ever do that? Do you do that?
Every day.
Yeah, I would think as
I'm
like a
jamming going down the road. My daughter's friend saw me the other day, and she texts my daughter, and she's like, "Does your mom drive a?" And would she be jamming? And she was like, "Oh yes, that's my mom." I was like,
yeah,
"Oh my gosh, I have tinted windows in my car for a reason because like I'm just in my own little zone. Like I'm
right,
like, yep, I'm skating."
yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing is if they only knew, right? Because they just look and say, "Oh, you're jamming out." They don't even realize that you're actually like doing a whole skate routine in your
I
brain too. You know what I
know,
mean?
going down the road.
I'm so like I do that, and it was crazy to me how that immediately came back once I started skating again. I
Yeah.
was like, it was crazy. I okay, so now you're doing artistic. How long did you compete in artistic skating?
Wow. I probably probably about 4, maybe 5 years.
Okay, but
Um,
you did really well though, right?
yeah, yeah.
Come on, I'll say it for you. Yeah. But no, I mean, yeah, you did. You kind of went on like a record pretty much, didn't you?
Yeah, but I started later in life, so I feel like that if I had gotten into the artistic when I was a little younger, I could have went much further than what I did.
Okay.
And then because I was teaching too, that was a challenge. Sorry, my alarm was going off.
Cool. We'll get it in post. Anyway, so what were you saying? So okay, so
Um,
you were coaching at the
I
same
was
time as
coaching,
competing.
yeah, because when I got into the artistic, I was already coaching. And I had, at that point, I had a team. I mean, I've had teams, for many years, but right now I don't have one. I want to build it back up. It's killing me so bad. And I'll get there. There's just been a lot happen in my life.
Yeah.
And, just trying to live life. but,
Okay.
but yeah,
So
so it was a challenge, and that's the reason why I said that when my last nationals that I went and competed in, I was coaching at that end, and when I did that, I was like, well, that's when I kind of was like, I'm not going to compete anymore. Just because I wanted to focus on my students. I felt like I was just kind of getting older. It was a little more challenging, I guess. I don't know. I'm not sure. Don't put that part.
what? So let me ask you this: Were you ever in a position where like you would have to compete against someone that you had coached at some point, or was it always the different division? Or
Oh, that's a good question. Um, I want to say yes because hold on, let me think. I mean, I'm thinking through like all these years. Um, I want to say at some point that I did. But I know that like a lot of the category, because in skating, it's not like everybody's put into the same category.
right,
There's
right,
there's different ones based on your skills. So based on my skills, um, I don't think that I ever had to compete against anybody that I coached. Wait, I think I did one year when I did shuffle. I think I did, and that was hard because when you're coaching someone, you want them to be the best that they can be,
right.
and of
Yeah.
course, I'm competitive, so like
Okay.
I'm gonna get out there and do my thing.
Yeah.
So, but I can't really 100% say yes, but I believe so.
Okay. So you you were competing though up until how many like how long ago would you say like did you stop competing completely?
In 2003, I think.
2000, 2003. Okay.
Yeah.
So were you at this point like are you yet owning a rink or looking to own a rink or is that even a thing in your mind or
What's so crazy is that when I was even in elementary school, I was like, I'm going to have a rink one day. I remember us doing like this time capsule.
hmm,
And I'm pretty sure I had a friend try to see if they would dig it up, but the school wouldn't dig it up because they had done like a bunch of remodeling. I don't know if they found it and destroyed it or if it's still sitting on the property somewhere.
what a jip.
Um, but I'm pretty sure in there it says that one day I want to own a rink. And so, like, throughout my life, just because I loved it so much, like, I was like, oh, I want to do that. And so, growing up, like, I kind of had several opportunities. And I pulled out for one reason or another. Like, I'd already had, like, a full business plan. Like, we were getting ready to break ground, but the person that I was going to do it with, I just didn't get a good vibe, so I pulled back and didn't do it. But it's always kind of been there. How much? So my first rink that I got was the only skating rink in town that I hadn't skated at besides this one. I never skated at this one except for one time, or maybe twice
Okay.
before like I purchased this one. But my first one, I was married to the family that had started that rink.
Okay.
And so the grandmother had started it. And when she passed away, the mom and dad, like they had been doing it for like over 30 years. They were burnt out. Like they were just like, they were done. And so they were going to shut it down. And my ex-husband at the time was like, oh, I'm so upset. Like, this is all I've ever known. And my kids were super upset. And he said, if anybody can turn it back around and make it survive, it would be you. And the crazy thing is during that time when they shut it down, this rink had revamped. Like it was shut down for a long time. Like it got
Okay.
sold at an auction. And so like the guy that came in and bought this was like putting everything into it. So it was affecting that one. And then they had opened one up at a grocery store. And the crazy thing about it is that it was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And because of things that happened, I got to put my brand on it, which was Roller Time, because I had already had my academy. So I have an academy that I started over 20 years ago when I decided that I love teaching. And so many people wanted me to teach. When I worked at a school, I was their secretary at Camperdown Academy, and they had different activities that was coming in, and they were teaching dance and karate. I was like, why can't we do roller skating? And the
Yeah.
headmaster at the time was like, we'll come up with business plan and we'll see what we can do. And I did, and I was so like, I was engaged. I wanted to do it, and my friend was helping me that was working there with me, and the headmaster was helping me, and he had made a comment to her and said she wants to do it so bad, so I'm going to support her, but it will never work. And I hit my 20-year anniversary, and I still have friends over at Camperdown Academy. I actually still teach there today, roller skating. So I go into different facilities every day, and I take skates and I teach, and that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. I've got my own like program book, and so and then I host camps and stuff like that. But I mean, I come up with Roller Time, and then so when I got my skating rink, I was like, oh well, I get to change the name. Well, we're going to make it Roller Time,
Right.
and so Roller Time is like my brand that I've created in this area.
So now, prior to owning the rink, okay, like you're doing the academy, but like, did you ever work at a rink in any capacity prior to owning one?
I did actually.
Okay.
I kind of worked at roller sports because I was up there all the time, and then
Right.
I worked up there a little bit, and then Skateland in Berea. Um, the guy that ran that one, Ron Houston, he was kind of like a father figure. We had all went over there and started skating over there some after roller sports, and I was teaching there, and he just needed somebody to come in and kind of help. And so I went over there and helped him run it for a little bit, and then, you know, stopped helping him and was kind of doing my own thing. I think at that point I had my baby, and it got a little bit more challenging and just kind of pulled back a little bit.
Were there things like for you? I mean, as a lifelong skater, in basically every aspect that there is, right, from coaching to competing to just skating to being to an employee to I would assume that there's probably a lot of things that like in your mind you go, okay, now you've got your you got your space, I'm gonna call it roller time, it's gonna be my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming there are probably things in your mind that like just after years of just being involved in this thing that you were like, I'm going to do it like this, though. I'm going to I want to change this. I want to have that. Like, I want to make it mine in this way. Like, what are some things that you feel like that were important to you to kind of incorporate to your rink and your vision that maybe you didn't see other places?
Well, I will tell you, when I ended up, with the Piedmont rink, I thought I was prepared. I a skating rink my whole entire life.
Right.
I worked in a skating rink. I will tell you, it was hard. I mean, it's still hard. Like to be a roller skating rink owner, like people look at you and be like, "Oh, you got the funnest job ever," and I'm like, "You have no idea. Like
It's owning a
there is
business. It's owning a business.
a lot of behind the scenes, and they're never like I had to go to rink owner friends that owned rinks or ran rinks and be like, that I either coached with or I knew or stuff like that because there was not a guideline. Like I
Yeah.
didn't walk in there and it was already set up for me. I
Right.
had to create what I wanted from scratch. And
Mhm.
that was very challenging. So what I did is I went and visited my rinks, my friends at their rinks, and they were so super nice and supportive and gave me information of like how they did it. So I would take like how all these did it and be like, okay, well, how do I want mine to be done?
Right.
And that's what's so awesome, about like the RSA and the conventions and, the different sections and stuff because you're getting to know all these skate rink owners and see like back in the day, like I don't know how it was, but it was like, oh, well, we can't share that with X, this person because they're going to, be the same as us. And it's not like that in the skating industry now. Like Billy Thompson, he's the new president and he, man, like, and even like the presidents like before, like, I mean, they are really just digging into the skate industry and sharing all their ideas like we were talking about before because we're not worried about competing necessarily with each other. We're worried. I mean, we're more concerned with building the roller skating industry as a whole. And, like, so when we go or we talk or whatever, have a convention, seminar, phone call, we're like, hey, guess what I did? And this worked. Why don't you try it and see if it works at your facility? And if it does, like, I'll come back and I'll try it. And some things do, every community is different. So some things take and some things do not.
Yeah.
So it's a learning process continuously.
Yeah. I mean,
Still learning.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I think skating too, like when it comes to like this, going back to this thing about, competing with each other, like rinks and this and that, and I kind of look at it like, rinks aren't going to fail based on someone taking their business or doing better. Rinks
Right.
failed because skating itself dies due to a lack of interest in general, right? So
Right.
like it's just like if if every rink in this state, whatever, right? If we're all focused on all of us doing better, right? And however we can do that, skating overall is better, right?
Oh, yeah.
People are
I agree.
more interested, and it just should be this kind of revolving door circle, whatever. So, like, now let me ask you this though, because you kind of hinted at it, because it's funny. I know a lot of rink owners, and I do know, like, you hear from just skaters a lot, like, oh man, like I'd never want to own a rink because it would like kill skating for me. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
so some people, they look at it in the very unrealistic sense of like, oh man, it would be like awesome to be a rink owner. It's what I
Yeah.
like to do. I like to like it's like no, dude, it's not just skating. You know what I mean?
Right.
But then there are other people too that look at like, oh my god, I bet I would just like I would get so burned out and it would ruin skating for me and this and that and everything. So for yourself, how why is it that you think that even through the challenges that you said where it was just you did not anticipate what it was going to be, right? Like,
Right.
and you can't until you do something,
Yeah.
right? But how do you, what, like why do you think or how do you think that you maintain this same passion, you know what I mean, and enthusiasm for this on that side of the wall, I guess.
I have to say it was very tough for me because I, even though I thought I was prepared, kind of walking in to do my own thing, I wasn't. So I really had to dig deep into my core, because when you have a rink, you have to create your own vibe. And that's the reason why I think like the competing with a rink, like even like the other rinks that are around, like they have their own vibe. And I think that when you come up with your own vibe, it helps. My hardest thing is because I was a skater. I thought that when I had a skating rink, that it was going to be like exactly instantly the way that I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like that. It's a building process. Like I used to be a super impatient person. I'm like, I like right now. And I'm like, okay, you know what? God's got a plan and it is going to come when it comes. Like when I got Easley, I had no idea. Like, I mean, it was totally a God thing. And I mean, I'm still working on it. Like I'm constantly working on being better. And I love traveling to other rinks because like sometimes I'll go in and I just want to be a skater. Like I'll go skate with my niece and she'd be like, don't say anything to anybody, like let's just go skate. And I'm like, okay. And and I've met Angel Benson and Chrissy and Danny, and I mean I could just go on and on like of the skate community. And I actually was doing adult nights, and even though there was a lot of skaters that grew up at the time that I skated, they don't necessarily skate anymore. And so like when I was doing the adult sessions here, like I just wasn't getting the feedback that I wanted to get. And they were doing an adult skate down the road, and that's how I met her, and or all of them. And it's just like our relationship developed, and now it's like, hey, we're gonna go to wherever. You need to get a plane ticket,
Yeah.
and then before you know it, like I'm buying a plane ticket the night before. I mean, and jumping on a plane by myself. It's the craziest thing that I've done, but I love it. Like it is so much fun to be able to go into different rinks and be able to see different parts of the country, and you're not just stuck. So I think for me, like as a rink owner, like I'm hands on. And so, I can go and sit in a class, but, I'm sitting in a class and I'm talking to you, but like I'm multitasking because like I'm not hands on with you. So like when I go into a rink, like I'll go skate as a skater, but I'm observing. I'm like, wow, like, okay, that's their vibe. Okay, I see them. All right, I like that. I mean, and so I'm absorbing what's around me, and then I'm absorbing like their skaters. Like it's so amazing to get on a skate floor. And like if you ever see me on a skate floor, like when I first walk into a rink, like I put my skates on and I'm just rolling, and I'm just like the biggest smile on my face, and I'm just taking it all in because people get on the floor and they just let go. And they're just like, I mean, it amazes me. It inspires me. Like I am soaking up like all of it. And I think to me, going and being able to do that with other adults that enjoy that, I think it's also helping me as a rink owner. Because I run into rink owners all the time that like, I'm like, like I went up to this one guy, and I feel so bad, and he's gonna know who he is if he sees this. But I'm like, "What's your story?" He was like, "What?" And Angel like hit me. She was like, "Don't be so aggressive." And I'm like, I was just so excited to know because like I want to know what makes you click. I want to know like why you're doing it. Like it's so cool to hear everybody's story, and everybody's got a story from skating rink owners to coaches to skaters. Everybody has a story, and they're all different, and they're all amazing. And I love it. I love every bit of it.
And it sounds like too, like, so, when you get to, you go to, go out of state, or you go to an event somewhere, like one, it's kind of like a day off for you, right? Like you don't have to like I can just be a skater here. I don't have, you know what I mean? Like I don't have to do, but the other, what I hear from you though, is just being around these people, and it's also like a recharge for you too, right? It's an inspiration, bring back ideas and stuff, for at your place, kind of like a place to almost recharge your own batteries. You know what I mean? And
Right.
they say like kind of motivations like showering. You know what I mean? Like you're not gonna be like, look, you're not do it every day. You know what I mean? It's not always gonna be there.
Right.
And so when did you start doing like the event stuff?
Um, I mean, it's only been, gosh, we'll have to ask Angel. She's my dates girl.
Okay.
Like, I'm telling you, like, I call her my marketing director. Because I mean, I love her. She is so awesome. But I want to say that it was maybe in January. No, I don't know. My
In the
days,
last year
weeks,
or last two
months,
years?
like within the last year.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it hasn't been like a very, very long time. So like when I hooked up with her, she was like, "Hey, you should, come to this event." And then like I went to an event that Kate's Billy had, him and Jeff. They did a big shuffle event, and I went to that, and it was amazing. It was awesome. I was like, God's got a plan. Like he's shutting down Piedmont. Like Easley's big enough, and then I go to his event, and I'm like, okay, Easley's not big enough. I need to build a skating rink that's bigger. Because he had that place packed and they were jamming and it was amazing.
Yeah.
And like I looked at him and Jeff and I was like, I want that in South Carolina. Y'all got North Carolina and Georgia. Can I please have South Carolina?
Yeah. The thing that's amazing about it and infectious about it is I think like, no matter where you are, right? Like there's wherever your rink is or whatever, like there's a group of people that are like just really on fire for skating, right? Like the
Yes.
people that like I know I have friends that skate and friends that don't skate, and there's definitely people in both of those groups that are like, hey, Mark, you can shut up about skating now. You know what I mean? Like it's right.
Yes.
But the cool thing about the events is it for the most part it's nothing but those people that don't shut up about skating, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's the people that like are willing to fly somewhere to go
Oh
skating,
yeah.
right? Pay for
Yes.
a hotel to go.
Yes.
So it's all the most passionate
Right.
people, right? Like uh kind of all kind of collecting in one place, which is I think for me it's like the biggest reason that I got hooked on it so much. Yeah. So I mean, now but you're having an event
I am.
yourself. You are. So let's talk about that. So when, what was the inspiration? When did you decide I'm going to do this too? Just give me the whole rundown.
Well, I went to Billy's event and all those people come and I was like, and then I'm skating around at all these different events and then Angie had her heart to heart. I actually did my last roll at Piedmont, shut the business down, jumps in my car and drove to her event. And I was a basket case because that was really hard for me, but I was
Yeah.
like, I gotta skate. I've got to skate. Like it's therapy. And all of my friends are there. And even Nick was at my last roll and I was like, are you going to go? And he's like, no. He ends up jumping in his car. I'm at the event. I turn around and he's like, and I'm like, oh my God. He was like, I was going to tell you, but I just wanted to surprise you. And it was so awesome because all of my skating family was there and they knew what I was going through because like I'm friends with all of them and on social media and they, kind of got to, see what was happening and they all knew, but nobody like really said anything. That it was like they knew that like I just needed to get there and I needed to skate.
Yeah.
But you could tell like in their eyes or through their hugs that like they knew, which was really amazing for me because I knew that they knew, but they were letting me do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And so like when I was there, and I can't remember if it was like after that, but I just remember turning around to Angel and I was like, my whole life I have skated and I have taught and I have a rink and all I really want for my birthday is I want people that love skating as much as I do, whether you are a skater, a coach, a rink owner. I want to have a big party That's what I want. I don't need gifts. I just want people that are as passionate about skating as I am
Right.
here to help me celebrate. Like, let's jam out. And
Right.
that's what I want. And Angel, when I told her, I was just kind of kidding. And she's like, oh, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to make it happen. I was like, you're crazy. And she's like, no, we're going to do it. And she's like pressuring me. And I was like, oh, my goodness. And she's like, we got to get a flyer. And I was like, okay. And so,
That's all we need, a flyer.
like, and so I, did the flyer. Well, I didn't. My niece, she's my assistant, and she's like comes up with this flyer, and it's got me on the front of it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I want my face all over the world and everybody's sharing it, and here I am with my whole body going, come celebrate with me. They're probably like, who in the world is this girl?
Right. Well, but I mean, but you're doing it now. When is it? Tell everybody when it is. What the is there? Is it multiple days? Like what's the situation?
Yes. So it is Saturday night, November the 9th, and Sunday night, November the 10th. And we're going to be doing some other stuff. I'm kind of working on the details of that. I would love to, get everybody together, during that weekend, just with different events that'll be happening. But I am bringing in DJ Jams. And then we're just going to get down. It's so crazy how that worked, because when I went up to him or reached out to him to see if he was available, because I had skated when he DJ'd and I really liked his vibe and stuff, he was like, well, like every year I usually go to somewhere that he does that it's like a tradition for him. He said, and this year I'm not. And he was like, I can do it. And I was like, holy smokes. Like, I could not believe it. Like, it was just totally meant to be.
Yeah.
And so he's coming. I'm super excited about that.
Nice. So, and you've got your, like one thing that you kind of puts you ahead of the game a little bit is you got your own rink, right? Like when we plan like the events in Philly, it's like half of the battle is just negotiating this stuff with a rink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's awesome for you. So now, is this something that you are you just gonna wait and see how this goes, or is this something that you're thinking about maybe doing something annually, or like?
I haven't really thought about that, but
We'll start thinking about it, huh?
But I mean, if it turns out really well, like
Right.
why not?
Right.
I'm down for anything. Let's try it at least once. So yeah, I mean, I would love to.
How close are you to Wilmington?
I am 4.5 hours. I actually just went there. Yeah. If you go on my Angela Skates page, I just kind of gave my spiel about how that went. I kind of got into it. I try not to get a little too wordy, but they did an event, and we went up there and skated and supported them. And I walked in like a normal customer, and when I walked in, I had seen Scott, the owner, at the convention, but I didn't really know him. Like, we're even in pictures together, which is funny. But I'm shy. I don't just walk up and like want to start a conversation with you unless I have like a question for you.
Right.
So I kind of
tell me your story.
Yeah, tell me your story.
Okay.
But so I thought I had somebody was DJing, and I was like, I think that's kind of him. This guy was like getting down. I was like, okay, I got to put my skates on. Like, I will find out where he is later. So I put my skates on, and I'm like soaking up everything and when I went in, because when Ben and Aiden had come to my double header when we did Piedmont and Easley that day, and I met a lot of people like that. That was amazing, the double header when I did that, because there was so many people that was so passionate too about skating. Like Angie came, like Skate Takes, Eddie, Rob. I mean, like there was so many people that come and that I met. Like it was so just amazing.
Mm.
And I remember when we were at the Piedmont location, like it was so hot in there because we were only running on one air conditioning unit. We were getting ready to shut the place down. Like they're not going to come in there and fix it. And like
Right.
our music kept overheating, so we're all bouncing. And then like the music
Oh, I
went out
saw
for a
videos
second.
of this.
And Ben and Aiden get in front of me and they're like, okay, I got this. We got the beat. And they start like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like it was mind blowing. I was like, this is amazing. Like I haven't been with skaters that would just jump in there and catch the beat and want to keep it going the way
Yeah.
that they did. I was amazed, and they were so nice. And you could tell like how much that they love skating. So when, I found out about the event, not only did I want to see Scott, but I wanted to see like what drove them, like what made them, fall in love with skating. And they were out there like skating around the floor and just really getting down. And, the funniest thing, and I did not put this in there yet, but I'm just going to go ahead and share it with you, is that I'm a very observant person. And, they're all skating around, and every time I look up, Corey has got something different on. Like he loves it so much. Like whatever song comes on, like he's changing shirts, he's putting a hat on, he's got sunglasses. Like he's in his own little world, like just getting down. I'm like, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. Like, first of all, I love that dude. Like, but so like anyone that skates with me on the regular, like I'm the guy that brings 3 or 4 shirts to a session. One is just because I sweat like a maniac, right? But I'm like Corey. I'm like Corey in that sense though too, where like, and I think it's for me, it's like also like a lot like being a b-boy previously too. It's like it's part of that whole thing. Like you have your style for your style. You know what I mean? Like, and it's a weird thing, but I totally get it, and it's so funny because I get crap for it all the time. How many shirts you wear? Well, oh, how many costume changes are you gonna have tonight, Mark? I mean, I get it all the time. So now, and you see, and it's funny, but you see pictures of Corey, like it's the one picture I think Guerrilla Media put out of Corey. They actually just used it to talk about the March events for USA Shuffle. The one that he had. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's his hat and his glasses. And he's, and it's like that's perfect.
I mean, like just in his own world, it's crazy. But I
it's
see like where their drive is. Like Scott, I tell you, he can DJ. I was so amazed. I was like, he doesn't even need to hire anybody. Like he is so engaged and on point on the DJing. Like I told him, I said, I'm talking to Billy. I said, our next convention, you're DJing. I haven't said anything to Billy yet, so when this comes out, hopefully I would have a conversation with him about it. But I'm totally like going to suggest it because he was awesome.
So I'm taking a look at your rink, kind of like now. So how big is that floor?
Oh my gosh. You would ask me that. I think it's like 70 by 125.
Okay. And what is it? It's because it's not, is it wood?
Well, it's actually, there is asphalt on it, and then it has like a layer of concrete. So it's really smooth, but it's basically like a concrete floor.
And is it like an epoxy on top of that?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reason I love, because I'm a grip guy. Like I love grip. I love to stick. I want to stick to the floor. Like that's my thing. And there's a certain degree of that, like that you're just it's just always good on a concrete floor. You know what I mean? That's all there is to it. So, do you prefer a concrete floor over a wood floor yourself, or do you have a preference?
That's a crazy question. So, I grew up on wood floor, and back in the day, like if you didn't have a wood floor, then it was not a good skating rink. It wasn't cool,
right?
And so when I competed and stuff, they always told me that when we went in, like you only had a little bit to get used to the floor. So some of it would be wood, some of it would be concrete, some of it, like when they did regionals and stuff, and sometimes nationals. And I don't know if they do this anymore because I haven't been recently, but they have the wood floor that they like piece together.
Yeah.
But you can't really feel it because they've mastered it so well. But I don't know. Like, that's hard for me because my kids grew up on the concrete floor over at Piedmont. And it never dawned on me until I took them skating over at Roller Sports or somewhere. I don't know. I say Roller Sports. It probably wasn't Roller Sports. But they went on a wood floor, and the texture's different.
Yeah.
So, like, on some skating floors, like, when you skate, like, you can feel, and it kind of go, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, you know what I'm saying? Because you've got the wood planks that are, and they're like, why does it do that? And I was like, oh, my gosh, like, that's something that I've never noticed before, but they had never been on wood floor.
Yeah.
But it was really cool because, like, when we would go and travel, because my kids competed as well, never pushed them, always let them make their own decision. They got to skate on different floors, and their preference is concrete. I don't know. That's hard. I do think that the concrete is smoother. It is more of a process, though. I feel like with my rink, because like it's not like I just sand my floor and I'm able to put a coat on it.
Right.
We have to go in and put detail and different stuff like that. So I don't know. I love all floors. I grew up on all floors, so I can't really say one or another. That's hard. That's a hard question.
Okay. All right. It's funny too, because to be honest with you, the like I would think in my mind like a concrete floor would be like the most like painful fall. It's not. Like, I swear to God, like Philly, that it used to be an ice arena. It used to be an ice rink, right? But it's just maple. It's just hard maple laid right down like on top of concrete. And I'm telling you, like literally every time I've ever fallen at Philly, I have something with me for forever. You know what I mean? I got this little nodule of like thing here. I've fallen on concrete, but like I don't know what it is about that place. It's like the hardest floor ever, and I can't fall on it without literally like having some long-term repercussion. It's actually kind of crazy, but
no, it's funny because people, it's like, I mean, over the years, not now, because people just come in, they skate, they pretty much already know. But, I used to have people go, I can't skate on that floor because if I fall, it's going to hurt harder. And I'm like, if you fall, it doesn't matter if you fall on a concrete floor the wrong way or a wooden floor the wrong way. It's still going to hurt. Like, it's really not the difference. It's more like in your head. Yeah, it's kind of like when I skate. Like when I teach, or when I see people, it's really hard for me, like as a coach, like if somebody comes in and I see somebody put skates on and they stand up and they're like, their feet's going all back and forth and their body's going, and I'm like, sit down. I'm like, are your roller skates alive? And they look at me and I'm like, point to your roller skates brain. And they're looking, and they're like trying to figure it out. And I'm like, does it eat? Does it breathe? And all this stuff. I think a lot of times in people's heads, they have this image of a certain thing. And I think that's kind of where the concrete and the wood floor, and I know like people will try to debate you all day, but as a skater that has skated all over the United States, I just feel like that, a floor is a floor. Like if you maintain it good, that's the key.
So this thing, I don't know, it was like this recent conversation happening online or whatever, and people were they were talking about wheel hardness for grip, Yeah. And this is my opinion. I think it's right. But no, because it's like, oh well, yeah, but if your wheel is like super hard, like like you're gonna slide a lot more and blah 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 blah. Absolutely not. I roll regularly at 99. The fact is that a properly maintained floor, I don't care if it's a VFH, if it's a 92 or whatever, a properly maintained floor, any wheel out there right now will grip. That's it.
Right. I
9
agree.
times out of 10, like, I mean, a softer wheel is going to help you grip on a crappy floor. Like, it'll help you grip more. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. I believe it. I think it's just the
Those
truth.
are the people that are really in tune with their skates because like like I know friends that have like 20, 30 pairs of skates and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you doing like a
Yeah.
different pair every time you get skating? Because that would be hard. I have one pair of skates and I'm like, I think it's awesome that they have different pairs and they can put them on. And I told them, I was like, I haven't had speed skates in a long time. I might try some speed skates, but because that's what I grew up on. I didn't grow up on artistic skates, but that's what I'm in now. Just because, like after I did artistic, I just kind of stayed with it. Um, and plus, I just don't go out and buy skates like that. My last skates I had for like 20 years, and then I contacted Billy, and I was like, Billy, I want some skates. But I'm very picky, and I need you to help me. And there's got to be blue on it somewhere. And so Billy built my skates for me, and it's got blue on it.
Nice.
So
Nice. Well, so is there anything else that you wanted to kind of go over? We're coming up on some time here a little bit, but is there anything you wanted to throw out there? Anything you didn't get to mention, or you want to talk about? Anything at all?
I have no idea.
You have no
I
idea.
don't know. I think we pretty much covered
Covered a lot
a
of it.
bit of it. Yeah.
So now with the event coming up, it's November 9th and 10th.
9th and 10th.
Right, 9th and 10th. What are the times again?
Oh, 10:30 to 1:30, I believe, and then 6 to 9.
And do you guys okay, and this is going to be the first time for that event, depending on how this event goes, maybe next year too. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. We'll see.
Maybe. And did you mention, I'm not sure if you mentioned this, I'm sorry if you did. Do you have an adult night at your rink?
Not currently, but it is
Okay.
in the plans.
It is in the plans.
It is in the plans. Yes, we're already working on that.
Okay. And
But I'm waiting on my guy, so we'll see.
okay. Would you say that like where you're at and like that particular rink, like do you think that like there's a definitive kind of style where you're at? You know what I mean? Like when I go down to like skate reflections, right? It's like I know what I'm gonna see when I go down there, right? Do you
Right.
find it where you're at to be more individualistic, or do you find it to be kind of like a little bit of everything, or what would you say?
Compared to some of the rinks that I went to, I think that this area is still growing.
Okay.
I can't say that, but like just because like in the adult, like there is not like I know Skateland does an adult skate, but they do it during like their regular. It's not even an adult skate. Like they're just open on Tuesday nights, and like some
Right.
adults go up there and skate. So they're not like catering, but they kind of are, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And then like on Thursday nights in Spartanburg, like they do an adult event, but it's not like they're bringing a DJ in. It's like you come in and So like when I do mine, like I'm really wanting to, bring in a DJ and give the skaters what they're wanting, and I think that that's going to bring more skaters into the community that's really enjoyed it. Because I mean, a lot of the adults that like I skate with, like they haven't been skating this whole time. Like they skated when they were younger, and then like COVID happened, and they started skating again. Because like when COVID happened, I think it really made a difference in the skating world because people were at home and they're like, "What can I do?" And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like all the skates are sold out. You can't find skates anywhere because everybody's at home, like skating or whatever. And so I think that everybody's slowly getting back into it. So I really want to build up like the adult industry and even like, the teens and just anybody. Like I just want everybody to skate. I don't care
Yeah.
how old you are. And I want to be able to skate. And I love skating in my own rink, but I love going into other rinks. Sometimes it's hard for me. if somebody's doing something wrong, I have to like bite my tongue. I can't say anything, but that's just the rink owner in me.
And
No
probably
food
a
on
little
the
bit of that.
floor.
I'm assuming based on, you probably have a very competitive kind of mindset. You know what I mean? I'm assuming you're a perfectionist, maybe to a degree.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
maybe
just hit
just a
that
little
one on
bit.
the head. Please come on.
A little OCD, perfectionist.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Same.
mean.
With the exception of like, well, OCD. If OCD is like basically the same as me saying like, well, if it's not perfect, the hell with it. Then I'm OCD. But
I'm more like if it's not perfect, what can we do to
I'm
fix
gonna
it?
make it perfect.
We're gonna
Yeah.
fix
Nobody
it.
leaves until it's perfect.
I know, like my employees, like if they will, like my maintenance manager, he'll hang a sign, and I'm like, like that's not where it needs to be. So now, like he knows, he's like, okay, is this good? So
Right.
like it's on, because if not, like you gotta display it right, right?
Yeah. No, and my thing is too is that because I think the reason that it's like that for me is because I get an idea and I immediately see it exactly how I want to see it. Like I don't,
Yeah,
it's not even like I don't even think about, well, do I want to do it like that? No, I see it. I know, like, and so and now, and the poor souls around me that have to just read my mind. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah.
but anyway, well, I don't have any other questions. Thank you so much for doing this. This was a good time. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
I really, 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 I'm pulling for you in this event. I hope that maybe even some people will find out about it through this, and would love to see that take off for it. I'd love to just see another event, and happening, and help, and be a boost to you, kind of like doing this. If you build it, they will come, and trying to make that kind of thing happen.
Absolutely, I agree
Yeah, yeah,
110%.
yeah.
Yeah, I hate that I can't come to Philly though. Like that's killing me. I would love to like experience that. I'm sure that's going to be really awesome, and hate that it happened to be the same time. But I know a lot of friends are going to try to hit both, so that's pretty awesome. That's
Yeah.
dedication right there. I love that.
The thing I always tell people about Philly, the thing that's interesting about it is it's like where like when you start moving north, when you start going north, right? It's like the tri-state is like the place where like you see the biggest difference amongst in skating, right? Like it's like once you get there, it's like okay, everything's very different. Like everything's
Yeah.
things are different the whole way down, but like all of a sudden it just like leaps into this whole different world.
Yeah.
It's you can tell too. Like we're like a lot of people coming up from the south and they come to Philly, they're just like you know.
No, it's so cool. Like, I mean, we went to Canada and I was just like, holy smokes. I mean, even like Cascades in Georgia, I went there and there was so much passion on floor. I was just like in awe because like they're in groups and they're doing stuff. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I love it. I love it. Like, I just want more. Or, somebody's out on the floor. Like, there was, when we were like in Canada, there was this girl, she was just like letting loose. Like I was like, if I did that, I would probably fall. But she
Yeah,
was just so engaged and just like,
it,
I just, it's mind blowing.
it's
I
funny
love it.
too. Like me come like skating in Maine in Mass, like my whole childhood. I've never even considered skating in Canada. Like I don't even know what it looks like. Huh? Where in Canada were you?
Oh my gosh, don't ask me that. See, I just should have brought Angel and made her be a part of my podcast.
Where's it? I was in
She
Canada, man. Get off my back.
listen. Her and Danny and Shaq were like, okay, just get a plane ticket. We will take care of everything else. I literally got a plane ticket at 10 o'clock the night before. I jump on the plane the next day and I didn't even research. I was like, I just want to fly straight there because this is the first time I've ever flown by myself. They've taught me into doing this. I'm nervous, right?
Oh wow.
I'm like, don't even. I said, I do not want to have a stop in Atlanta because Atlanta's big. Like,
Oh
I want to
yeah.
fly straight there. Okay, I get on the flight, and I'm not on a window seat. I'm on the aisle, so I can't even see. I get outside the plane, like, we go in, just had unloaded, and all I see is screens with thousands of flight. And I call her and I'm going, oh my gosh, you have just dropped me off in the like second biggest airport in America. And I'm like, holy crap. And they're like, okay, this is what you need to do. And like, they picked me up and they were like waiting on me. But I tell you, that trip was so amazing. Like, we skated at 2 different rinks, and you'll have to go on my Angela skates. I do post both of them on there. Both of them are amazing rinks, got really great stories, had amazing vibes. Kiki, like, she runs one of the rinks, and Daniel's the one that had put the event on, and I went up to him and I said, you did an awesome job, like, and he just like, really? And I was like, yes, like, he really did. I mean, they had shirts made. Shaq actually I had launched Angela Skates because I kind of was thinking about it, because everybody was like, and so I decided to launch it. I had, talked to Rob and Eddie and, and a couple of different people. And when we were there, Danny was sitting there going, okay. And Angel, they're all pushing me. And then all of a sudden, after I launched the page, Shaq's like, I'm getting you a shirt made. And I was like, I'm going to get my own personalized shirt. And so I'd be darned if he didn't make it happen. And I got my first Angela Skate shirt during that event. And then, of course, I'm scared half to death on my way back, because here I am going to have to go in this big airport again. But they were so awesome. Shaq walked me back, and we were walking down like this slope like this. And I was like, oh, this would be cool to roller skate. He said, don't worry, honey, you're going to put your skates on. And I'm like, what? I said, what are you doing, trying to get me arrested? He said, no. He said, I'm just giving you the courage. I'm not trying to throw you in front of the bus. I'm trying to give you the courage to, roll beside it. And I put my skates on in that airport. I was scared half to death. I knew somebody was going to tackle me. Like, I was so nervous. And I did a loop around, and there was so many people. But people were like in their own zone. So I just did a loop around, took my skates off. But, it was so cool. And everybody's like, I can't believe you roller skated. But I just knew that, like, somebody was going to come say something to me. He looked at me. He said, if you hear somebody going, ma'am, 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 he said, don't stop. Just keep going and come and get your skates off, because they're just going to tell you to take your skates off. And so I did. And that was pretty cool. I got to roller skate down a mountain a couple of times. Which was pretty cool. You'll just have to go to Angela Skates. And as I'm kind of making my way through all these different adventures with all my awesome skate fam, I'm gonna share that on there, because I want to educate the world, through my eyes. I mean, I'm not perfect. I don't claim to be, but I'm very observant. I soak it in. I have a passion for skating like everybody else, and I just want to share like how I feel about it and what I see.
Awesome. Yeah, so everybody check out Angela Skates. And good luck with the event. Thank you for doing this. I had a good time. This was great. So thank you very, very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, hey, we'll talk soon. And that's it.
Okay, sounds great.
Take care.
Take care. Hopefully I'll get to see you soon. Maybe we can roll.
We're going to figure it out. We're going to figure it out.
Yes, sounds good.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.